All right. So, hey, everybody out there. I'm Conan Smith. I am the president and CEO of the Michigan Environmental Council, and welcome back to Capital Connection. We are talking today with three great filmmakers and adventurers and lovers of the Great Lakes, Chris Yahanda, Davis Huber, and William Wright, who are in the process of making a documentary called Troubled Water. Taking into account what's happening to the Great Lakes right now and how important they are to protect, doing it via a paddleboard journey from Mackinac Island to Lansing. So down through the lakes and up the Grand River, getting to explore both the Great Lakes themselves and some of our inland waterways that feed into them. And we're going to talk to them today about their journey, about the motivation for it, what they're learning, and what they hope the documentary is going to deliver in terms of advocacy and education for not just the people of Michigan, but all across the country and the world, folks who can and should value our Great Lakes. Guys, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us in the middle of your journey. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having us. Happy to be here.
So let's just jump in and let me ask you, like, how are you connected to Michigan? Tell us a little bit about yourselves, each of you. Chris, why don't we start with you? Like, what got you interested in the Great Lakes and a project like this?
Yeah, so my connections to Michigan and then specifically Northern Michigan and the Great Lakes are run back pretty far in my family. I was born in Ann Arbor, and then my great grandpa back in the 1940s built a fishing cabin up on Lake Skigmog in Northern Michigan. And so that kind of sparked the familial connections to Northern Michigan and to the waters up there. And I've been going up there every summer of my entire life, and then for a bit in the winter as well. And just growing up, spending time swimming and doing, all the activities possible on the lakes up there has really kind of given me a super deep connection with the lakes. And it's kind of made me who I am, at least in part. And, seeing some of the changes and the threats that the lakes are facing, it felt like it was, just right to get involved and help try to preserve and protect what we love so much. And our way of doing that was paddling combined with our friend Davis, who's a filmmaker. And so we kind of combined our two interests and skills. And here we are now.
I follow my own rules here. Davis, you're engaging as a filmmaker and outdoorsman. Why is this touch your heart so much?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is not too far away from Northern Michigan, but I don't have a place in Northern Michigan, and but I would spend a lot of time up here, either visiting Chris or William or other buddies, and it was some of my first experiences being outdoor and being on the water, and I've always just thought it was a really beautiful area. And then I moved out west and spent a lot of time in national parks and whatnot out west, and I just feel like people don't appreciate the beauty that the Great Lakes have. And sorry about that. It's a little closer to home, and I just think it's an amazing place and a place that's worth protecting and worth telling a story about.
And how about you, William? Like, what's your background and what brought you to this project?
So similar to Chris, my family's been coming up here for a very long time. I'm more out of Petoskey area. Chris is Elk Rapids. But kind of one important fact about kind of us three is that we've been friends since kindergarten, all of us from Fort Wayne, Indiana, growing up. So like you said, Davis has been coming up here. I've been up here from, very, very small age, learning all the water sports you can ever think, making sure we're doing that on all the summer beautiful days. So that's not to reiterate, but we just love this land, this water. And it was very important for us seeing last year kind of the water level change and some of the things that were happening in our backyard. So we just had to get involved. We couldn't sit on our hands anymore. So that's what we did.
So paddleboarding from Mackinac to Lansing, you're gonna be on the water for 2 months. it's quite an endeavor. Why did you choose this as the anchor activity? And give us a little bit of the backstory of why you wanted to document this journey, what you're hoping to share with folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe Chris can talk about kind of his love for paddling, and then Davis can talk about kind of his film experience, and that should round it out pretty well.
Yeah, so I guess me particularly, paddleboarding has always been a big part of my up north routine every summer, and even sometimes in the winters if it's not too icy. But um, I've always grown up loving paddling, and then in our past, us three as a group, we've gone on much smaller than this one, little excursions on paddleboards, little camping trips. Like we did a 70-mile one last year, and we feel that paddling is a really great way to get to know the water. I mean, especially for the documentary and the message that we're trying to get across, we're trying to really show the value of the water and intimately get to know and show the importance and the beauty of it. And I think paddling is a really great medium for that. You're so in touch with the water and both you're in pretty much every sense of your body. You're standing on it, then you have to use your arms and stuff like that. So you really get a feel for the water itself and the movements of it and everything like that. So I think we're trying to show and connect with the water, and I think paddling is a really great medium to do that.
I love that. I spent most of my own upbringing open water canoeing, and it's a very similar feeling. Like you feel a little bubble underneath your feet or your knees, and a gust of wind matters in a different way. That's
Oh yeah,
really great.
yeah,
So Davis,
absolutely.
Tell us about the filmmaking aspect of it.
Yeah. So last year, I think Chris kind of mentioned this, but we tried to do a smaller version of the paddle from Petoskey to Elk Rapids, and we ran into a big storm, and it was just kind of a fun project. And I was kayaking while they were paddleboarding, and I brought my camera, and just filmed what I could. And it was tough from a kayak. I was always scared that the equipment was going to fall in, or it's hard to get a steady shot. So, but during that trip, we started learning about the different threats that were facing Lake Michigan, and talking about doing something more important about it and doing a bigger project. And really since then, we've been working on this and just, diving into all the different issues facing the Great Lakes and Lake Michigan, and planning this big paddle. And yeah, from a filmmaking perspective, I think stand-up paddling is a great avenue to tell the story of the threats that are facing northern Michigan and the Great Lakes, because it's so intimate. You're so close to the environment, and it's slow, so you have time to notice things and appreciate things and see different changes. And beyond that, it takes it's going to take us a month and a half at least to get to where we're trying to go. So we have the opportunity to meet new people and run into people have different stories and different experiences about the area. So yeah, I think it's just a really intimate medium of exploring all these different things, and beyond that, it's an adventure, which is fun and engaging. So,
William, there's a lot of logistical challenges too to this, not just the ones with Davis's equipment, but like tell us a little bit about like what a day looks like for you, like and what a night looks like for you. Where do you sleep? Like what is it?
Yeah.
You're on the water all the time.
Absolutely. So this project has been going on since the last little paddle we did. So a year growing, and it's morphed a ton, and actually it grew in length. But the logistics behind even a day to day. So lots of times we will be at camp heading out, but then portion of this trip is documentary focused. We're trying to get interviews, but then there's also an aspect that is a movement where we're trying to raise awareness for the topics that we're doing. So there's also a decent amount of social media that we're trying to put out there, and cataloging and journaling and reaching out to the people who are reaching out to us. Scheduling interviews when you don't know exactly when you're going to be at a certain location based on the slow and erratic paddling. So the days are hard to describe as a constant formula, but lots of times it'll be wake up, unpack the camping equipment, about 30 minutes to an hour, start paddling. Davis and Landon, who's at the PA, who's helping us out, are they going to be, whether it's a open water crossing, following in the boat because it's kind of a dangerous section, or trying to find where we're going to be and find the next camping site, because this is a beautiful place and people know that, so lots of this land is private around the water, so you don't always have great camping sites. So we're thankfully that we've been here for a while and we have a connection to a lot of people. We've camped on front yards along the water, we've camped at campsites, we've been washed ashore along the side of a highway and all that kind of stuff. So it's impossible to say where we camp and tell you a quick, succinct logistical story of day to day, but it's ever changing. And but yeah, so
well, you guys you were very generous to give us a clip of your first week. Why don't we share that and give people a direct sense of what that experience is like out on the water?
So that morning that we took off from Mackinac Island, it was, we walked out there super early in the morning and it seemed like it was really good weather. And then we went and got all of our equipment and came back and there was this massive wall of fog that rolled in. And as you know, there's tons of boat traffic that goes through the straits. And so we were like trying to decide whether or not to go out, and then just kind of like out of the mist, we heard this massive, horn, and then this huge tanker emerges from the fog, and we're like, all right, we're waiting. So yeah, but then finally we waited a couple hours and the fog went by and we had perfect conditions. What you see here is just super clear and really good wind that pushed us right across the straits, and couldn't have gone any better.
So, wow, I was just going to ask, Davis, you're using a drone for any of your filming, and I'm guessing that's not you way up there.
No, I actually climbed to the top of one of those towers. I was just shooting down. Yeah, I have a drone.
You can do that. You can climb inside them.
Can you? I didn't know that.
So yeah, there's like ladders and stairways inside them. So
interesting.
There, I was like, oh, maybe he did do that.
I might have if I knew that.
Oh, this is great. When you're out there on the water, what kind of like protective equipment are you guys using on the big water?
So we have our boat following on the big water when we're going through a strait, so that's always helpful. But on the paddle boards, exactly, we're kind of have our leashes, and if you see on Chris there, that belt that he's wearing, that's actually a life jacket to pull and deploy. But that's probably it as in protection. But these paddle boards are actually something crazy. We got them specifically for this trip. They're race boards, but they're very long and wide to be able to support the gear we're going to be packing on them. And we've got some cool rigs on there where we have a solar panel that's hooked up to a battery that Chris and I can then use to charge the camera, that more of a portable camera that Davis gave us, that we can film when he's not there. So it's a really cool setup, and these paddle boards are, I don't think we'd be able to do it without such nice equipment.
Chris, I feel like you were intimating that paddleboarding is kind of it's almost a spiritual and cultural activity. Do you see others out there on the water when you've been on this trip, and have you shared with them at all about the purpose of your journey?
Yeah, we've actually been able to see a few sides of paddleboarding, people's connections through the water through paddleboarding, which has been really cool. Before setting off, M22, the company up here, has been helping us out with some things, and they set up a paddle with us for actually promoting these t-shirts that they're selling that are in partnership with us. But so they got together some more of some of the more prominent paddlers in the Traverse City area, and we went out and just got to know them and paddle with them, and it was awesome being able to share, the love of paddling and the love of the water with them. And then when we were up in Wilderness State Park, just west of Mackinac City, we met up with Brian Kosminski of True North Trout, which is a fly fishing company, and he loves to fish from his paddleboard. So he brought his paddleboard. It looked much different than ours. It was an inflatable one with some small little river fins on it, but he brought it out, and we went out into the state park and went fly fishing with him. Needless to say, William and I are not the most expert fly fishers, so we didn't have a lot of success, but it was really cool being able to see Brian and his craft and how he adapts it to a paddleboard also. So there's definitely been a lot of people we've run into along the way that definitely share a love of the water and a love of, outdoor activities. It's a really active place up here, and so that's been awesome to see.
So moving away from the sport, let's talk for a minute about the threats that are impacting the Great Lakes that have motivated you guys to tell this story. What are the things you're hearing? What are you seeing out there? What's really rising up in terms of issues that that you'd like to see more attention and activism around?
So the first and primary one that we started with, so portions of our journey are going to be focused on different different issues, just based on where the issue may be taking more effect. So up in the Straits of Mackinac, that's where the Line 5 pipeline is. And so that was kind of the reason that we started our project. And that's that, 69-year-old pipeline built to last for 50 years that, is able to push about 23 million gallons of oil a day through the Straits of Mackinac. So the threat there is that, an old pipeline, even if well maintained, has a risk of rupture and it's just spilling oil into the Mackinac Straits, which have been deemed one of the most, one of the riskiest places, especially in the Great Lakes, to have an oil spill. Like we kind of mentioned, the Mackinac Straits were kind of scary for us crossing. Thankfully, we got really calm weather, but otherwise there's currents that slosh back and forth between the two main basins there, which is Lake Michigan and Huron. So if an oil spill were to happen, oil would be kind of leaking into both lakes and kind of wreaking havoc on the coastline and the waters up there, which for us is the reason we kind of unacceptable risk to such a beautiful water that supports life up here in Michigan. So that's the main issue there, but we're also going to be touching on invasive species and its effect on the fishing industry, kind of decline up here, and then also water quality, and that's going to be a little bit more downstate once we get to maybe the Grand River area. There's a lot of people that are working on kind of maintaining and researching whether it's river quality, whether it's ag runoff, whether it's sewage overflow, all that kind of stuff, human-made impacts on the water.
You mentioned at the very beginning that you guys are you've been on this water for a long time, and you've seen lake levels rise over the last little while. I'm sure you'll start to see lake levels fall as we've noted this year already. What kinds of impacts are you seeing from the changes so far? And do you expect as you get closer down along Lake Michigan towards the Grand that you're going to see more substantive impacts there?
We've already seen, because the high water mark is visible from last year. The high water and then the waves that storms brought in. We're kind of around Sleeping Bear Dunes, Pyramid Point area right now, which is a little bit east of it. But we're seeing any sort of public access, private beach, anything that has stairs that would be going down or infrastructure around it doesn't quite reach the bottom anymore. You can see a lot of that kind of runoff and I'm blanking on the word, but
the erosion that's happening.
Erosion, thank you. Wow. But you can see the erosion there, and all the stairs and all that kind of infrastructure is gone. And so I think there's going to be a lot of rebuilding. Like you said, now the water's back down, so we're seeing that high water mark. And you're right. I think there's even larger problem once you get more downstate, where the houses are built kind of on those bluffs straight on the water. and a lot of people had to refortify and change the way they approach their house and the infrastructure around it. So hopefully we'll see even more of that as we go down.
Chris, you're in day 10 of paddling. Where are you guys on the journey?
Yeah, so paddle wise, we are a little bit south of Leland, approaching right around the Pyramid Point area. And then currently where we are is we were lucky enough to have some family friends up in the Leland area. And so we hopped over to their house so we could jump on their Wi-Fi and make ourselves a little more presentable for this. But we are just about 110-ish miles into the trip of our 400 plus miles. So around a quarter of the way done with the full trip in day 9 or 10 or whatever it is. But yeah, so we're making pretty good progress. We're right on schedule, if not a little above. And so so far so good. We've encountered a little bit of winds yesterday for the first time, the first of some really rough and adverse weather. And so we got washed up on the shore a little bit and just had a lot of beach time waiting it out, but we were able to squeeze in some miles in between. So that was ended up being good, but it was, the first real test of bad weather. So I'm sure we'll experience more and more of that as we keep going.
Yeah, I mean, the lakes are something else, right? Like often unpredictable. And I'm glad you guys have a nice safety crew around you too, to make sure that no disasters happen. Mainly because like we need this film. So you guys got to finish it so we can tell these great stories and get this out.
Yeah, no film if we're at the bottom of the lake.
That's right.
Although Davis wants there to be some adversity, so
Oh, okay, yeah, you get some drama, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Things have been going too well for them. We need some big storms to come blowing through.
So Davis, I have a wide network of 8-year-olds who would be happy to swim out and try and like dunk these guys. So just let me know if you need me to mobilize the crew.
We'll be in touch after this.
So tell us a little bit about the film proper. Like when do you expect it to be released? What's like post-production look like? And are you going to screen it? Are you going to send it to festivals? What's the production story?
Yeah. So production's pretty much over in August, and then we start editing, and it'll take us quite a few months, but we're hoping to have the film finished by the end of the year, if not early next year. And then, yeah, the plan is to do a big film festival circuit nationwide and internationally as well. And then we'll have a bunch of local screenings up in northern Michigan for different partner organizations and different townships and whatnot. So yeah, we'll keep you all posted, but sometime next year, hopefully early next year, the film will be ready and will be available to be watched. And then the ultimate end goal is, after the film festival circuit, to shop it around and get it on a streaming platform like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon.
Have you guys taken into account or observed any of the environmental justice implications of your project and these challenges to the Great Lakes, issues that are of importance to our indigenous and native populations, like protection of fisheries and that sort of thing? Obviously, Line 5 is a massive threat to those. Like, have you been working at all or connected at all with our tribes in this process?
Absolutely, yeah. So actually, our very first day after we crossed the straits, we coincidentally met up with Nathan Wright, who is he's running like a similar path in protest of Line 5 and to garner support to protect the Great Lakes. And we met up, and him and his friend Dusty, he led a water ceremony in the area and blessed our journey. And we started talking with them and really hit it off. And the next day we were lucky enough, Dusty invited us to go fishing with him and his a couple of his friends. So we got to see that really unique tribal fishing. And we talked with them at length about the different, issues surrounding gill net fishing and all the different the rights and just the challenges there. And it was really eye-opening. And then we also went out with Nathan, and a couple of days afterwards and went foraging for wild herbs and got to see that, and talked with him at length about the different struggles that the indigenous communities are facing, and how they're really trying to help move this environmental protection forward. And it's really been it's been awesome to make those connections and learn more about that, and we're excited to share that message in the film in a really respectful and thoughtful way.
You all approached us early on to serve as your fiscal sponsor, and we're really excited to play that very minor role in your journey. Who are some of the other organizations or communities who have engaged with you guys along the pathway here that are celebrating and supporting?
We've had a really good relationship with a lot of the organizations, kind of focused primarily up in northern Michigan. But like we said, True North Trout, Workman Outfitters are two of the kind of the fishing guides that are going to take us. One, True North Trout was up in Wilderness. Workman Outfitters we're going to meet up with when we get to the Grand River. We also have two really important collaborations and sponsorships, one with kind of M22 here, who has been outfitting us throughout the trip. And as Chris mentioned, if Chris stands up a little bit, you'll see kind of the For Love of Water shirt that we have there, which they just put on their site now. And that's in collaboration with us, Troubled Water, but then also Flow, For Love of Water, the organization that's fighting for water issues across Michigan. And then we also have a really good partnership with Mobby Wine. And they also put out a Shutdown Line 5 sparkling bottle in collaboration with us. And we'll have a kind of we're in Leland area now, so we're in their neck of the woods, and we'll have a event with them on the 22nd. So really excited to see them and work with them more as well. But other than that, I mean, there's also been tons of organizations, King's Orchard and stuff like that we've been talking to, not only just for collaborations and sponsorship and fundraising, but also to hear their stories, because King's Orchard, they're seeing crop loss from tart cherries this year, just based on what they are seeing as increased fluctuations and variability in weather. So something related to climate change. And then we're also talking to the Fishtown Preservation Society and Carlson's about their relationship with how fishing has changed recently. So we've got a good network of people that we've been in contact with, and that's just a small portion. I'm sure I left a good amount out there, but it's been great getting to know more people up here.
And as you guys come to the end of your physical journey, it's sort of the beginning of the real advocacy journey, right? Like you're gonna have a celebration, gathering, rally in the Capitol when you arrive. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and then what your next steps in terms of increasing the message distribution and the engagement are?
Yeah. So our first our first conversation was with Bill Odka from Oil and Water Don't Mix, when we were like, oh, we should get involved. And so from then on out, we've had great sponsorship and partnership with Oil and Water Don't Mix. And kind of with that kind of collaboration of organizations that Oil and Water Don't Mix represents, there, and in collaboration with us, we're throwing an event in Lansing on the 22nd, I believe, is the new date, but I'd have to make sure. August 22nd, sorry. And that's going to be kind of in support of the governor heading down to the State House in Lansing. And that's, hopefully there just to show her that, we're behind her, and that, her fight with Attorney General Nessel is very important, and that the people support her, or at least a good amount support her. So to keep fighting the good fight. And so we're really excited for that. And then we're just going to continue with kind of our growing of our Instagram following. If anybody wants to follow us, Troubled Water Film, you'll get updates daily on our journey through our story and posts. So that's kind of like the best we can do when we don't have, perfect internet connection all the time and we're on the water. So that's please follow, because we'd love to share.
Guys, we are at our time mark here, and I know we could talk about your journey a lot more. I hope maybe we can catch up at the end of it, and when we've got an opportunity to screen the film, certainly we'll do that with the MEC family. For those of you out in the audience, there are several questions that have been posted. Our team will follow up with you via email. We'll provide you a link to this webinar and also work with these guys to address your specific questions that we didn't get to through the course of today, and make sure that you have opportunities to re-engage with the project as it goes on and comes to its completion. Chris, Davis, William, thank you so much for taking a half hour out of your journey to share with us your thoughts and the great work that you're doing and advocating for these very, very precious Great Lakes of ours. Really appreciate you guys.
Thanks so much, Conan. Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks. It's been awesome, and hopefully we'll continue the partnership and have more things like these in the future.
You betcha. Like that's for us, like we've been really pleased to be partnered with you guys. And if there's a way as things come out that we can do more to promote your work and advocate for the great things that you're doing, that's what the Michigan Environmental Council is here for, and what all our partner member organizations and allies across the state believe in. So, lean on this advocacy community to help tell your story. Everybody, thank you for taking the time out of your days as well. We'll see you the next time around in Capital Connection. Until then, be well.